Hi guys, and welcome to Unity 3D tutorial of physics and character control. So let me show you guys how this works. Look at it. I'm just using my mouse to pan around this beautiful environment that was put together, and this very image that you guys are looking at is from is an asset from the asset store. Okay, so I'm just showing you guys how the whole thing was put together, but this image, like I said, is an asset from the asset store. The skybox itself, that is from All Sky Free, and the mountain or the maintenance object you guys are looking at is from All Sky Free as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you guys another one that was put together using from some asset from Standard Assets. Yes, Standard Assets. So I'm going to show you guys that now. Then we can go ahead and put something like this together. So let's see if we can see that. That is it. Look at it. You can see the forest in there is thicker than the previous one that I just shown to you guys. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take you guys straight into the Unity editing environment, and we put one of these together. So let's do that now guys, using physics, and there's going to be a lot of coding. So let's do that. Okay guys, we're starting a new project now. I'm actually using Unity 2021.3.8. now the template that I'm using is the core 3D core. So right here I'm going to give the project a name. I'll just call it physics and character control. There we go. I'm now going to click on create. So let's click on create project there, and that's it. My project is now being created. Okay guys, Unity editing environment is ready. So the very first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go straight to Windows, and right there I will then select package manager. So the very first one I need is going to be, I have the list of the asset that I need here. This is the very first one I'm going to need. Simple City Park Plane. Okay, so when you get into the package manager, all you need to do is, if you have asset, just click on your asset, and you should be able to find whatever you want, or you go straight into the asset store right here and search for any of those components if you want. Since I already have them on my own system, so I'm going to just scroll right down and look for it. So let's come right here. That's the very first one, Simple City Park Plane. It's only 1.8 megabytes, so let's click on import. There we go. There, and click on import again. And right there, it's now on my system. Okay, before I continue, I'm just going to show you what's going to happen with that. So let's come in here. That is the Simple City plane there. So I'm going to double click on it, and right here you see the scene. Double click on the scene, and that's the demo. Just double click on the demo, and that's it. It's now coming up. It's there on the system, though you cannot see it. So I'm going to reposition my camera. That's my camera right there. Let's go for about, first of all, let's see where these trees are. No, let's look for the buildings. Look at the buildings. Click on one of the buildings and look at the position of that very building. It's on 300 plus. So I'm going to use this very position as the reference for my camera. So I'm going to copy that. This is 70 and minus 85 in there. So come in here, just paste that in here, and position x-axis is going to be minus 300, and here that will be 70, and the y-axis I'm just going to make that about, let's go for minus 75. There, look at that. We can see the structure right there. So if I click on run, this is what you guys will see. There we go, that's what you're seeing. So I need to reposition that camera properly and change this to, let's maximize that. We're gonna end it and just maximize the game. Yes, maximize already. Just drag that game right underneath here, bring it down here so that we can see what we're doing there. Okay, so go back to the camera, that very camera. I'm now going to sort of like reposition it properly. So let's say, very good. The y-axis, I've made that about 74, and you see what's happening here. And here I'm just going to change it to something like minus 300. Yeah, 321 looks okay. And here we can just make that. Alright, minus 75 is good anyway, 0.5. That is good. Alright, so I'm just going to double click on anything there, the trees or anything, so that we can see the whole scene. That is it. Okay. And that is the camera here. So if I run it, this is how it's going to look like. Let's see, it's coming up now. There, that's how it's looking at. That's how it's looking. But as you can see, nothing is happening. It's just an ordinary, beautiful, still looking image. Nothing is happening. So if you don't add any physics to this, you won't even know that this asset is a 3D. And that is the important part of it. So we're going to implement a bit of physics to it, and as you all know, physics is a very crucial component of many video games. So let's stop that. Okay, now before I go any further, I'm going to go back to my project in the asset, and here and right click on the asset area here, go to create and select C#. And I'm going to give that a name. I'm going to call it mouse look. There we go. Now click on the open. Once you click on open, that should open up the C# development environment for us. And now that's coming up. Okay, my C# programming environment is ready. So the very first thing I'm going to do right up here, I'm going to create some serialized variables. So get rid of that very comment, and in there we enter square brackets, come right in there and just type in serialized field. There we go. The very first serialized field, I'm going to call that, or the data type is going to be float, and that is going to be, let's say, turn speed, and that will be equals 90. There. So the turn speed, that on the other hand is just to check the mouse sensitivity. Okay, so the speed at which the mouse turns, that's what's happening there. Then the other serialized field I'm going to create, that one is just going to check how fast the head is actually tilting. So let me just copy this and paste that right underneath here, and I'm going to change that to head up angle, something like that. Okay, the head upper angle limit that is created, so I'm going to copy this and let's create another one for head lower angle. There we go, and let's just change that to, I'm going to make that minus 80. There. So head look up, head look down. That's what's happening here. And now let's create two variables. These two variables will be for the yaw and the pitch. So let's say float yaw, that will be equals 0f, and I'm going to float pitch as well, that is going to be equals 0f as well. Let's just put an f to it. There we go. So that is going to be our current rotation from our stats, and it's going to be in degrees. Now the next thing I want to do is, Okay, next we're going to declare another variable called quaternium. So that's going to be quaternium body start orientation. That actually stores the orientation of the head and the body when the game starts. So let's store that. That is quaternium. Then the other one is going to be, this is for the body, and copy this and just change it for the head. Paste that in there, and let's just change it for head. There we go. Okay, I'm now going to create something for the reference of the head. I'm going to call that's going to be transform. I'll just say transform head. That's it. And now for us to be able to find the head, I'm going to then say head, that will be equals get component in child using the camera dot transform. Now the next thing we want to do is want to get the cache, okay, the cache to take care of the orientation of the head and the body. So to do that, we say body start orientation, and that is going to be equals transform dot local rotation. There we go. And that's for the body. So we now do exactly the same thing for the head. So I'm just going to copy this, paste that in there. In this case, change this to head, and here we enter head dot transform dot local rotation. Now the cursor we have to hide that. So to do that, we'll say cursor, that will be dot lock the states, and that is going to be cursor lock mode dot locked. This cursor has to be set to cursor dot visible. That has to be invisible as well. That will be equals false there. Now the next thing we want to do is anytime the physics updates, okay, we have to use fix update. We have to use fix update to keep in pace with the physical simulation of the object. So to do that, here, this function, we change that to fixed update. And right in here, the very first thing we want to do is so that we can read the current orientation movement. So let's say declare a variable, we say var, and let's go for orientation horizontal. Okay, horizontal, that will be equals input dot get assets, input dot get assets, and that movement is going to move x, mouse x, close that. Then we need to multiply that by time dot delta time, else it's just going to be speeding. So that time dot delta time works with the timer on your system. So let's say time dot delta time, multiply that by turn speed. There we go. That is for the orientation. We also need to do the same thing for the vertical. This is for the horizon. We also need to do the same thing for the vertical. So might as well just copy all of these and just change it around. Paste that there. Change this to vertical. And I'm going to change this to Y. And that'll be all. Okay. So in that case, we have to now update our yaw and pitch. So let's come down here. So we say yaw, that to be equals, or we can just say plus equals, horizontal, and pitch is going to be the same. Let's say pitch, that's equals, plus equals actually, vertical. There we go. So the other thing that we're going to do now is to make sure we clamp the pitch itself so that we cannot look directly down. So to do that, I'm just going to say pitch, that will be equals, let's say math f dot clamp. Who am I clamping? That's going to be the pitch. Okay, comma, head lower, angle limit, comma, and I'm going to do the same thing for the head lower and head upper. Head, that should be upper, change this to upper, angle limit, enter semicolon. Now we now need to compute the rotation of the body by rotating around the y-axis, and we're going to do the same thing for the x-axis. So to achieve that, I'm going to come down here and just enter, declare a variable, and that is going to be known as body rotate. No, let's say body rotation, and that's going to be equals quaternium yeah, that's the spelling, and that's going to be dot angle axis, and this axis is going to be yaw, comma, vector 3. So the vector 3 will cover x, y, and z, but in this case up there. So we do the same thing for the head. So I'm going to grab this and just change it around. So this one is now going to be head rotation, okay, quaternium. This is going to be angle dot axis here, then this will be pitch. Change this to pitch, and here we change this to right there. And finally, we now create a new rotation for the body and the head. So to do that, let's say transform dot local rotation, that is equals body rotation. Grab it, paste it there, body rotation. We then multiply that by the body start orientation, body start orientation, that is it right there. Grab hold of that, paste it here, there. I will do exactly the same thing for the head. I'm going to say head dot rotation, grab all of this, just dump it there. So let's get the other one. Yeah, this is it. I can just change that to head anyway. Come right down there, paste that there, and that's all there is to it. Okay, let's save that and go to our Unity editor. There, it's now compiling the lines of codes. Alright, my code the system has finished compiling the lines of code. So the next thing we want to do now is, you see these lines of code that we just finished creating, drag it and paste it right on the main camera. And if you come here, let's make sure it's on the main camera. That is it right there. Okay, that's the speed, the head, and the angle. So let's run. Click on run and just see how that's gonna work. There we go. Look at that. Now we can now pan around. Look at that. Now you can see the beauty of the asset that I downloaded from the asset store. Okay, but there's one thing that I cannot do. I cannot move forward or move backwards. So to do that, I'm going to create another lines of code. I'll call that movement. So let's exit out and come back in here. Just right click and create another one, and we'll call that movement. There we go. Now click on open. There. Okay, before we start work with the coding, let's get one thing out of the way. You see the main camera. Select the main camera, come right down here. We need to add character controller. So that is it. Click on character controller, make sure that is attached to the main camera. We can then go back to our lines of codes. So I'm going to declare some variables in there. So let's just copy the serialized fields in here. Now come in here, just paste those right up here. Now the very first one, that is going to be for the speed. So I'm going to call it move speed. And the move speed, we make that about 6. Then the next one is we want it to be able to jump. So I'm going to change this to jump height. Let's make that about 2. And the next one is going to be the gravity. So come in here and just change it to gravity and make that about maybe 20. There we go. Now we also need to enter the degree at which we can control the movement while in mid head. So to do that, I'm going to add one more of this. Let's get rid of 3 of those. Get rid of 2, I mean. Now this is going to be called range. Let's say range of the serialized field is going to be from 0. The range will be 0 comma up to 10. Close that and enter a comma in there. Then the serialized field itself, and we'll create a variable that we will call air control. And initialize it with 5. I mean, that is that done. Okay, and our current movement control, if we are on the ground, in that case we just say vector 3. So call that move direction, and that will be equals vector 3 is 0. There we go. Now the next one is a cache reference to the character controller that I've added. So I'm going to say character controller, that will be control. Let's just call it control, character controller, and that is just control. So that's just the name I'm going to give that. Dump that in there. Now let's come right inside this very function in here. So we say control, that will be equals get components. And what component are we getting? That's going to be the character control or character controller. Grab that, paste that right in here. There we go. Okay, next thing now is for us to do our movement logic in a fixed update. Okay, so that the movement can happen at the same time or at the same pace as the physics update. So in that case, I'm going to change this to fixed update. Let's get rid of this, and right in here, let's declare the following for the input. So I'm going to say view input, and that is going to be equals new vector 3, and the vector 3 is going to take in input dot get access. No, that should be uppercase input. Change that, input dot get access, and that is going to be horizontal. There we go, comma 0 comma input dot get access, and that is going to be vertical. Grab hold of these and change this to vertical. Come right here, change this to vertical. Okay, next thing, so let's multiply the movement by the desired movement speed. So to do that, we just need to say input multiply and equals the movement speed, and then let's convert this to just word space. So let's come down here and we can say input, that will be equals transform dot transform, that will be direction, transform direction, and the direction is input. There we go. Okay, now we need to check to see if the controller's most bottommost point is touching the ground. So to do that, I'm going to use an if statement for that. If controller dot is grounded, enter curly braces. Okay, in that case, we need to find out or figure out how much movement we want to apply in the local airspace. So we just say move direction, and that will be equals input. There we go. Now using another if statement within the if statement, so we say if input, that should be input dot get access, so that will be uppercase input dot get button. If the button press is jump, okay, enter curly braces again. In that case, is going to be the move direction dot, if that is y axis, equals math dot square 2 multiply by gravity. There we go. And we also need to multiply that by jump height. Good. Else, so come down here and just enter else. Else, move direction y will be equal 0. Okay, it's already there. Alright, let's just copy it. Move direction y will be 0. There. Another else statement. Else input dot y, input dot y, that will be equals move direction y, move direction y. There. Okay, so we'll then say move direction y, that will be equals vector 3 dot flip move direction, comma input, comma air control, that's when it's in the air. Then we then multiply that by time, delta time. Okay, and end that. Okay, we now also need to bring our movement down by applying gravity to it. So to do that we say move direction minus equals gravity, and that is going to be multiplied by time delta time. There we go. And finally, control. Let's have a look at the control. In this case, we want to get the controller to refuse to move into any other objects. Okay, more like collision or collider and so on. So let's say control or controller dot move direction then we say that multiply by time dot delta time. Delta time. There we go. That's it. So I'm going to save that. Okay, so let me show you guys the lines of code one more time. And this is for the movement. Okay, so let's go into our Unity editor. Right, inside the Unity editor, that is it right there. And we now drag the movement scripts and dump it on the main camera. There. Come right here. That is the movement script. And you must also make sure character collider is added. So we have mouse look, character collider, and character controller, and movement. Okay, now let's just try that out before we continue with the other two different type of assets. So run it. Now let's see how that's going to look like. There we go. We can now move forward. Look at that. Now let's go into the filling station. Look at that. But the thing is, we're going to drop out as soon as we go beyond any of the pavement or the tarmac here. Look at what's going to happen to us. Okay, to prevent this from happening, let's stop it first. I'm going to come back in here, and I am going to now add the terrain. So let's come straight to the hierarchy here, and let's go into 3D, then select terrain. Your terrain is right there, but you might not be able to see it now. So what I would advise you to do is, once the terrain is selected, come right here with the terrain selected. That is the terrain. Come right to the x-axis position, and let's change this, the x position to -803. Then the position y-axis, we change that to 70.155. Then we go to the z-axis and we change that to -520. There we go. Look at the terrain right there. Just kind of like level out with the building, or with the scenery, I mean. Okay, now that that is taken care of, now look at here properly. You see there? You can see there's some grasses there. I'm now going to add those grasses to this terrain. Make sure your terrain is added. Okay, and let's go into the terrain settings. Scroll right down, and here you see where you have material. It's actually inside the basic terrain material. Click on that. Click on that small icon, and let's look for the grass. So if you can find it, you can just search for it. Up here, just type in grass. There, that is the grass right there. So I'm going to click on it, and that's it. I've just changed the appearance of my terrain. Now the other thing we want to do is to make sure you guys go into Windows, and you need the following. Go straight to the package manager first. We need these two components. So because I already have them, I'm going to go into my asset, drop that down, make sure your asset is selected, and there I'm going to select it all, let it load up. Okay, the two assets that I'm looking for is the All Sky Free and Conifer. If you come right there, we should be able to see the All Sky Free, that is it. So let's get that imported, and we also need to import the Conifer. This is it right there. Get that imported as well. Just click on import. There we go, it's coming up now. Once those two assets has been downloaded, just come right there. You should be able to see them. That is All Sky Free and the Conifer. Alright, now the next thing we want to do is inside the Conifer we have the trees. I want to use the trees there, so I'm going to make sure I select the terrain again, back to the terrain, and let's come right in here. You see the tools here, this one, the one in the middle, that is the paintbrush for trees, and this is paintbrush for other details. This is for the setting, and here that's for terrain, to raise up the terrain and so on. Okay, but the one I want is the trees. Click on the trees right here. You see where we have edit tree. Click on that, click on add trees. Now select tree prefab, click on this small icon, and right here I'm going to select one of these trees. Yeah, that will do. There, and click on add. The tree is there already. The next thing I'm going to do, let's click on the mass place tree. Click on that. There we go. We have about 10. We actually have 10,000 in there. I'm going to ask it to place the whole 10,000 on the system there. But the problem is some of the trees are kind of like covering the whole artwork there. So make sure your brush is wide enough. I'm going to make my, I think 40 will do, or maybe about 45. Okay, that's the width of my brush, and I'm going to then hold on to the shift key. Okay, hold on to the shift key and make sure you are able to see the whole asset. Press the shift key down, just press. Once you press, you are actually getting rid of some of those trees. Okay, now let's finish up the rest on this side. There we go. Alright, okay, now let's run it and see how that's going to look like. Click on run. It's coming up. There we go. Look at the trees around. That is much better. So I can now walk around without dropping. Look at that. I'm on the terrain. There, I can even go straight to wherever the trees are. Right. So the next thing I want to do now is I'm going to add skybox, and I will also add some form of mountain looking. All of those two assets, I'll get them inside the All Sky box, All Sky Free right here. Okay, back in here, double click on the folder All Sky Free, and right inside All Sky Free, the very first folder here, we have underscore All Sky Free. Double click on that, and the one I want is this very one, underscore All Sky Free demo environment. I'm now going to grab the demo environment and just dump it right there. That's just dump it on top of the terrain kind of. I will now set the transformation position as follows. Okay, for the y-axis, the x-axis, let's start with that. I'm going to make that about, let's say, minus 500 plus. Let's say minus 503. There we go. Then the y-axis in the position, I'm going to change that to minus 7. Now, the z-axis in the position, I'm talking about the transformation, the position here, the z-axis, I'm going to change that to minus 75. Very good. Look at this. It's kind of like flush on the terrain. Now, I think this is fine the way it is. Yeah, that is fine. But if you want, you can still kind of like rotate the mountain. So I'm going to run it and let's see how that's going to look like. Let's see, it's coming up now. There, look at that, guys. Look at that. That is beautiful. You see that? Yeah. It's kind of like blending with these assets, the single plan assets. And I'm going to say well done to the creator of single city plan asset. I'll say well done to them. They've done a very good job. So all I'm just doing is putting things together using physics and character control. Now let's end that. Okay, now I'm going to end that. The next thing I want to do now is to add skybox. So let's go back into our all sky free, and I'm going to look for the blue, no, the epic blue. Double click on the epic blue. Okay, that is it right there. I can grab hold, I think this one will be fine. Just grab hold of it, dump it right there, and let's run it and see. Let's see how that's gonna look like. Look at that. You see that artwork now, man. This is beautiful. You see that, guys? That is very nice. So guys, with that, I'm going to call it the end of this beautiful tutorial. I suppose you guys enjoy it, and please do subscribe to my channel, and you can also join to become a member of the channel. There are a lot of benefits if you're a member. So I'm going to say you guys have a nice day for now, and you can try this out. It's a very nice tutorial for those of you who are into games. Alright, you all have a nice day, and see you all later. Bye for now.